Hello, my name is Myra, and for today's video I wanted to go ahead and talk to you about all the books that I read in November and October, since I didn't get a chance to film an October wrap-up. Now I want to go ahead and go through these in reading order, and if you do see me looking down, it's because I have it written down here on a paper because I will forget. Now, the first book that I read is When She Falls, and this is the Fallen series, so it is book 3 in the Fallen series by Gabrielle Sands. Now, this book is between Roz and Hema. So Roz is the second in command for this big mafia boss, and Hema is the sister of the heroine who is married to that mafia boss. And so Raz, being the second in command, he of course has to, like, you know, be protective of, you know, his Dawn and also of the family, which now includes Hema. Now that makes her forbidden to him because she is like a family member of like another mafia family that they now have like kind of an agreement with. And not only that, but she is also engaged to a really powerful mafia man, and so he has to basically be there to be his eyes and ears for his Dawn, but he has to keep a respectable distance away from her. But he can't help the fact that he is very extremely attracted to Hema. Hema is rebellious, she's her own person. However, she is also the one that has to kind of step in a lot for her sisters because they have a dad who is a little bit abusive, like verbally manipulative, and so she kind of comes across as like the more like, yes dad, whatever you say dad type of person, when in reality she knows the consequences of defying him are him taking out his anger on her. And so Roz starts to kind of, you know, really get to know Hema and really get to see some of like the behind the scenes of like kind of what she goes through. And he has a little bit of like a theory about what Hema has had to endure that her sisters are not aware of. And so it really makes that connection with them deeper. I really have enjoyed this whole series. Book 4 is actually coming out December 15th, and I will be reading the book the day that it comes out. Like, it is so good. All of them are on Kindle Unlimited. I'm definitely going to be rereading the whole series to annotate them all, but really I don't want to go too much into details because again, this is the third book in a series, and although it is different couples, you get to already see these two people in the second book. And so I don't know, I kind of don't really want to go too much into detail because I do think that honestly you can just go into it blind and enjoy it. Overall though, I rated this book a 4.5 only because it hasn't been my absolute favorite when compared to the other ones, but otherwise I really enjoyed this book. The next one that I read is Forget Me Not by Julie Soto, and this is between Emma and Elliot. Now, Emma is a wedding planner. She used to work for like this really successful wedding planner, and now she is basically handling everything herself. So now she has her own business. She's a smaller like scale, you can say, wedding planner, and she gets hired by this really popular influencer. She has like 8 million, I think, subscribers on YouTube. She has a huge following on Instagram. And so the fact that she gets hired and picked as a wedding planner can basically make her whole career. So she's very excited, and she also feels a lot of pressure because she's working with like a budget that she's not used to working with, since she's used to having clients that have smaller budgets, but she knows that she can pull it off. And so when she does meet this couple though, they do let her know, hey, by the way, we already know who our florist is gonna be. This is who we want our florist to be. And it turns out that it's the flower shop that is owned and ran by her ex, Elliot. So this is a second chance romance, and it is dual point of view. So you do have chapters in her point of view and in his point of view, but hers are in the present tense and his are in the past, because since they do have history, every time like it's her point of view, she's talking about things as they're happening. And then with him, obviously he's talking about things from like the beginning, like when they met and how they kind of started falling for each other when they actually dated. So it was kind of nice. Like, it was something different to get to see both point of views. And you do see that like they never stopped loving each other. They always did. and a lot of it were her own fears of like commitment, really, and like being with someone and it not being long term and them leaving, and that kind of like, I don't know, I kind of connected to that a little bit, and so I really enjoyed the romance. I actually listened to this book on Audible and I really liked it. I was like cracking up, and my boyfriend was like, why are you laughing? And I was like, oh, it's just this book I'm like listening to. And he was like, you're weird. But again, he doesn't read, so who's the weird one? But anyway, I did really like this book. I rated it a 4-star just because I wish it was longer. Like, I think that's what it was for me. Like, I wish it was a little bit longer. Like, I wish you really got to see them a lot more like together, because you do get to see the past and like how they connected in the beginning, but not so much, because again, it's dual point of view. So I think that's the only thing that I do wish, is like it was a little bit longer and there was like a little bit more insights as to like the romance, if that makes sense. Now, the next book that I read, and I actually also listened to this book, is My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This is between Cassie and Frederick. Now, Cassie is living in New York and she's a struggling artist, and she needs somewhere to live because she's been crashing at her friend's house and she doesn't want to keep like sleeping on their couch, and she kind of feels like she's coming in the way of like her friend and her husband, like her friend's husband, and so she wants to get out of their way, and she finds this listing for this apartment that's like super, like it's in this really nice neighborhood, it's this loft, the pictures on there are like incredible, but of course, like anybody else would be, she's like, this is a little too good to be true, because the rent is like dirt cheap and it is nothing like anyone that lives there would be charging for a room. And so she is so desperate that she decides to still go and meet with this person who is renting this room. And it turns out that she would be renting it from Frederick. Now, she right away can tell that he's like kind of old school, and by old school I mean he speaks like from a different time. He doesn't really seem to get the humor that's kind of going around. He also dresses very like you know, like a suit and everything, but it's like an old school type of suit. And so there's just all these things that she's like, huh, but he doesn't give her the creepy vibe. And so she decides to move in, because she's like, this is how much you're gonna charge me for rent, like count me in. And so she does, she moves in with him and everything is good. And of course, like the title entails, she ends up finding out that he's a vampire, because she comes home one day when he's not expecting her to be home. She opens the fridge and there was blood, like bags of blood in there, and she's like, what the heck is this? And so he ends up telling her that he's a vampire, and she's kind of freaking out at first, because she's like, are you gonna like try to like do something to me, like, because obviously if you're a vampire, like, and I'm a human, like that's a problem. And so he assures her that he's not, and it is pretty sweet. Like, they really get to know each other and they really like each other. There was some like spicy scenes in here, but I rated this book overall a 3-star, because there was so much, like, I had so many questions when I was done with the book. I was like, wait, how did he become a vampire? Also, like, I don't, like, what's in it for you? Like, are you gonna become a vampire? Is he able to turn you into a vampire? Like, I don't know. I had a lot of questions, but it was like, I guess like overall like an okay listen. I just had a lot of questions. So it was a 3-star, but it was still really sweet. And Frederick, definitely, like, he just seemed like a sweet old man, even though he's not old. But because he's so like behind on the times, I was like, he doesn't even know anything. Like, I don't know, but it was sweet, it was cute, but again, had a lot of questions when the book was over. Now, the next book that I read is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and this is between Brianna and Jacob's romance. I actually really like this book because it was giving me Grey's Anatomy vibes a little bit. So both of them are doctors, and Brianna, she has basically been running her department, and she's up for like a huge promotion up until Jacob ends up getting hired to work there, and he's also like a fellow doctor, and she was very excited to meet him, very excited to like welcome the new doctor with open arms, until she finds out that her potential like promotion is now at risk, because now who's to say that he can't also be like in the run for the promotion? And so she's kind of like, are you kidding me? Like, I've been here so long and now you might just give it to this new guy. So she automatically like doesn't like him. And what she doesn't know though is like he moved there because he was working in a hospital with his girlfriend. They broke up, and then she started dating his brother, who worked at the same hospital as well. And so now his brother is trying to he's trying to like mend things with him, because he's kind of like, hey, it wasn't like, you know, we were messing around when you two were dating, but like I can't help it, I fell for her. And she's kind of like, I wasn't messing with him, with your brother, but after you and I broke up, like I fell for your brother. And so he's getting away from that situation, because even though he's moved on, everybody else in the hospital is kind of like, oh my gosh, like your brother is dating your ex-girlfriend type of thing. And so that's the reason why he moved there. So he's trying to like settle in at a new hospital. He just wants a fresh beginning, and he happens to be someone who suffers from anxiety. Now, I'm not someone who suffers from anxiety. I know people that do, but reading it made me like appreciate the information, because I was like, oh, okay, got it. Like it really, I think the author did a really great job of going into like everything that's going on in their mind, whereas like maybe someone like me, for example, who doesn't suffer from anxiety, would not even think twice. Like I wouldn't really like question certain things. Like I like it wouldn't even cross my mind. So it was really interesting, and I actually appreciated it, because I felt like, oh, people that I do know that have anxiety, like I can maybe do some of these things to make them more comfortable and, you know, make them feel a little bit better. Now they do actually start fake dating, because again, Jacob is trying to tell his family like, listen, I don't care that my brother is dating my ex-girlfriend. Like it's fine, you guys can forgive them. Like I'm okay with it, you guys can be okay with it. And especially now, because they told him that they want to get married, and the family's like, if you're not okay with it, then we're not going to support him. And he's kind of like, no, support them. And so to really drive that point home, he needs a fake girlfriend. And it just so happens that Brianna says, okay, you know what, sure, why not, I'll be your fake girlfriend. Now, Brianna's also going through things because her brother really needs a kidney transplant. She's been trying to find like someone to donate it, and Jacob secretly signs up to do it. And I was just like, put a ring on it, girl. Like marry this man. Like, are you kidding me? Like he's gonna give your brother a kidney. Like, and he wasn't even gonna do it. Like, that's the craziest thing. Like he wasn't even gonna do it because of her, and he actually didn't want anyone to find out, especially her, because he was already gonna do it before they even got romantically involved. So I was just like, what a sweetheart. Like anyway, I recommend this book. Read it. It's so funny. Like there's so many things that go through it. There's a lot of like emotional stuff that gets thrown in there, and it's still like pretty hot. Like it's a good book. So again, yours truly, Abby Jimenez, recommend. I rated a 4.5. Loved it. And then you have The Art of Scandal, which actually I have like a special cover for. I mean, this cover, look at this. I don't know if you can see him. Can you see him? He's like tattooed. You have a queen. Look at that dress with her heels, and they're on the Camaro. Anyway, so The Art of Scandal. So this book is between Rachel and Nathan. That's who the romance is about. So in the story, you have Rachel, who is in her 40s. She's married to this politician, and they've been together for years. She was a single mom, and so he became like, he stepped into that father role for her daughter. And so they have this like romance, like this marriage, and she has this image that she portrays for him, and she really helps him a lot in his political career. Now the problem is, she finds out that her husband Matt is cheating on her. So she's like, excuse me, first of all, I'm not even happy in this marriage anymore. I'm like, we're barely even around each other, and like when we are, we really don't have much in common anymore, and now you're cheating on me even though I'm helping you with your career. Like, no. And so she decides though that she obviously doesn't, like, she has experienced homelessness and stuff, and so they come up with a deal of, okay, behind closed doors, we're not married, I'm not your wife, but out in public, I'll put up a front, and I'll do it up until the end of the election, and then after that, we'll separate or whatever. In the meantime though, she ends up meeting Nathan, and Nathan is like this 20-something artist, and he also comes from like a really wealthy family, but his family has basically rejected him because he was never part of like the empire. Like he never jumped into like the business side of it because he just genuinely had no interest. And so together they kind of start to push each other to go after the things that they want. Rachel also used to be an artist, and she just had basically abandoned her whole identity. So she's trying to find herself after being married for all these years, and he's trying to basically like fully embrace his artistic side and really make a career out of it. And so it was a really like nice book, but I think the political side of it, I was like, I'm not really interested. And then the romance was just okay. So overall, I rated this book a 3-star. But again, the cover is like, it's so nice. And like the first line, oh my god, I had my coworker read the first line, and she said, when your husband of 13 years sends a close-up of his erect, you know what, you should not under any circumstances ask him why he sent it. So that's the first line. So that's basically how she finds out that he's like cheating on her. It's like he sends her a spicy picture that she obviously knows was not for her. But that's the first line in the book. So anyway, still a good book. But then, okay, then I read King of Greed, and oh my gosh, you know what? I have it right here. I loved this book. Like, this was my favorite book that I read in October. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Now, this is actually the very, very first time that I read a marriage in trouble book. Obviously, the other book was like cheating, but they were fully gonna separate. Like, they're not even gonna be together. But in this one, it's a marriage in trouble. And oh my gosh, I loved it. So this is King of Greed by Anna Huang, and it is from the Kings of Sin series. But let me tell you, like the first 2 books, they were okay. I read them all. I read like the whole book. The first book, I think it's King of Wrath. There's King of Wrath and King of Pride. Yeah, King of Wrath is the first one. I rated a 4-star. The heroine, she was kind of getting a little bit on my nerves, not gonna lie. Because I'm like, girl, you're like almost 30 and you're rich and you care so much about your parents' opinion. Come on. And then the second one, King of Pride, I really liked it. But I don't know. There was like something missing, and honestly, I can't even tell you what it was. But this one, King of Greed, it had everything that I wanted in a book. So this one is Dominic and Alessandra. So Dominic and Alessandra, you meet them from like the very first book, because all 3 heroines from the 3 books are friends, and the heroes, all of them are billionaires, so they all like know of each other. Some of them talk more than others, but they're all in like the same, you know, circle of like billionaire men who run their own like empires or whatever. So in this book, it actually starts off, and you kind of see little glimpses of them in especially the second book, where Alessandra has been very, very supportive of Dominic and all his goals. They met when they were young, and they were in love, and they got married, and she still very much loves her husband. Now Dominic, though, he grew up struggling. Like, he didn't have money, he didn't come from money, and so now that he's like, he basically built up his wealth and he is this billionaire. And so Alessandra is kind of like, okay, when is enough gonna be enough? Because I support you, and of course I want you to have everything that you want, but like, it's been years now, like it's been 10 years now, and you are still so focused on your career and money and money and money, and what about me, right? And so this book starts off with Alessandra and Dominic. It's their anniversary, and he's gonna come to their wedding. I think it's their 10-year wedding anniversary dinner, and he doesn't go. He ends up missing the dinner. And so he thinks, you know what, I'll make it up to her, she'll understand, I know she will. But when he comes home, she's gone. And she tells him, I want a divorce. I'm not gonna do this with you anymore. I'm done being like the, you know, like the bottom of your priority list. Like, I'm done. I don't want anything to do with you. And he is like shocked, because he's like, wait, what? Like, you've never you know, like, I've always been able to make it up to you. And she's like, yeah, well, maybe that's the problem, that I've always let you make it up to me, and like, it's never gonna be enough. And he grovels, like, he is after her. He's like, no, you are my wife, I love you, and you are not gonna get away from me. And oh my gosh, like, he is determined. Let me tell you, he is so determined. He is just like, yes ma'am, whatever ma'am, like, after her. And she makes him work for it. Let me tell you, because I do think if she would have given in, like, I wouldn't have liked it, because I would have been like, really? Like, I thought this was a marriage in trouble. No, 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 no. Most of the book, Dominic is, and she wants her divorce. She keeps wanting her divorce, and she starts building her her own business, and she starts going after things that she wants. And I just loved it. I loved it so much that I paid extra to get this book, because this is the Walmart edition. I am going to take off the sticker, don't worry, but it comes with like illustrated pictures. And oh my gosh, let me just show you some of these pictures. I'm just like, first of all, look at how gorgeous they are. She is a Brazilian queen, let me just tell you. She is so pretty. Like, look at this. I don't know, it reminds me of like Belle and like the Beast, but like not when he's a beast, like, you know what I mean? And then this is from like college, which you would understand, like, if you read the book. And then, oh my gosh, look at this. Like, that is so nice. Look at this too. I honestly, like, I kind of want to frame this, like, but I don't want to take it out of the book. And then of course, you have them when they were young and they got married. So cute. But anyway, I already want to reread it, because I want to annotate it, because I loved it. 5 stars, definitely recommend. Now after that, I read Hidden Pictures, because it was at the end of October and it was approaching Halloween, and whew, it was scary. Okay, let me tell you, I'm the person that, like, I'm still scared of Chucky. I know he's a doll, I know it's fiction, but I'm still scared. So I don't watch scary movies, I don't care for scary movies. The last one that I watched was A Nun. This was years ago, and I only watched it because my sister's birthday's in October, and that's what she wanted to do for her birthday. But the whole time I was literally like this, like, watching the movie. And after that, I think when we got home, I had to watch like 2 hours of like random videos on my phone to try to like rinse my brain of what I had just seen, because I didn't want to have nightmares. Like, I'm a chicken. I am. I don't care. I'm very happy and proud to admit that I'm a chicken. But anyway, I read this book because of a little story my sister told me that relates to the plot of this book. So I have a niece, a beautiful niece. She's 5 years old, and like a lot of kids, she doodles, right? So one day she like drew these like 3 figures holding hands, and my sister's over here thinking like, oh my gosh, like she drew me, her dad, and her, you know, because it's just, my niece is a single child. And so my sister is like, oh, who's this? And she's like, oh, that's me. And she says, oh, okay, and who's that? And she says, oh, that's my baby sister. And again, my niece is an only child. But she said, oh, that's my baby sister. And my sister said, okay, and who's that? And my niece said, oh, that's the ghost outside. Literally, that's what she said. Now, my sister was like, I didn't want to freak her out, because again, my niece is 5. So she's like, I didn't want to freak out with what she had just very calmly told me, but it freaked her out. Like, they were both home alone, and my sister was like, dude, like, what ghost? Like, what ghost are you talking about? And then there was another occurrence where my sister was getting home with my niece and her boyfriend, and when they were gonna walk in, my niece didn't really want to like walk, because you kind of have to walk a little bit to get to the front door of my sister's house. And my sister was like, come on, you gotta go to bed. And my niece was like, oh no, the ghost is right there. Safe to say, I don't know, either it's an imaginary friend or it's haunted, I don't know. Point is, this book, Hidden Pictures, okay, and I'm not gonna go too much into it because I don't want to spoil anything, but it's all on the back of the book, okay? So this girl named Mallory, she is a recovering, well, she was she used to be a drug addict. She had like, she's clean now, she's been clean, and she interviews for like this wealthy family, and she gets hired to be a live-in nanny. And so she's gonna be nannying this little boy named Teddy, who is 5 years old and loves to draw, and she's basically gonna just be spending the whole summer with him. And her place of like where she's gonna be sleeping is in the cottage in the back of the main house. And so when she is interviewed, the mom is like, oh my gosh, let me show you all the drawings that my son has made, like he's so talented. And she's over here looking at his drawings, and there's like a drawing, and it's like a really creepy drawing, like creepy. And the mom says, oh yeah, that's like his imaginary friend, but like we let him, like we don't question it, like it's okay, you know, it's like, it's just, you know, it's normal, blah blah blah. So she doesn't think anything of it, right? Until the little boy like will randomly, like as they start spending time together, he's drawing all these pictures, and then he's drawing like really creepy pictures. Oh my god, I'm like getting the chills right now. Creepy pictures. And one day he ends up drawing a picture of a man dragging a woman's lifeless body through the woods. And so now she's thinking, wait, is this something that his imaginary friend told him to draw? Is this the drawing of what happened to this imaginary friend? Did the little boy witness this? Like, are his parents killers? Like, she doesn't know what to make of it, and it just keeps getting creepier and creepier. Now, I read this on Kindle, and the drawings are on Kindle, so it's crazy because she'll say like, oh yeah, and then he showed me this, blah blah blah, and like they show the drawing. So creepy. I was showing my boyfriend, he's like, why are you reading that stuff? I thought you don't like scary stuff. I'm like, I know, but it's like October, it's the end of like it's the end of the month, like it's Halloween, like I kind of want to get in the spirit. But it was good, it was scary, and it was a plot twist. Okay, I really liked it. It was 5-star. Recommend it, especially for October, or like if you just like a creepy read, I recommend it. It was a trip. It really was. It's The Thieves and Monsters by Cleo Evans, and it is part of the Three Fates Mafia, and it's book number 1. I really didn't like it. It's like monster romance. I literally got to like 80%, which isn't that hard. I think it was like less than 200 pages. And I don't know. I honestly was like, why am I reading this? Like, why am I, like, I'm struggling to read it. Like, I'm over it. I'm literally skimming through it now. Why am I reading it? So I stopped reading it, but it is monster smut, basically. And it's Cerberus. Yeah, like Greek mythology. And this girl, she's human and they're not. And it's very spicy. But like, I don't know. Even the I don't know. 2-star. Maybe a 1-star, I guess, because I DNF'd it. But I don't know, because like I got to 85%. But yeah, I don't know. Wasn't really my cup of tea, to be honest. So then I wanted something totally different, and I listened to the Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and this is between Olive and Adam. So Olive is like this super smart woman who is really like, she's studying or she wants to find a cure for, I want to say it's pancreatic cancer. I think so. So she's in STEM, and like she's really smart, and she's surrounded by all these other like really smart people, but she doesn't really have much of a dating life. And one of her best friends, like there's this guy that is also in, like, they're all in the same department, they're all in the same school, and he, like, she and him went on a date, but there was literally no chemistry there. But he's really interested in her friend, but her friend doesn't want to date him because she's like, no, girl code, like I don't want to date him. And she's like, it was just a one date, like you can date him, I really don't care. And she's like, no, it's okay. But she feels bad because she's like, dude, we've never even like kissed or anything. Like we went on a first date and like we just didn't click, like it just wasn't it. And to prove a point to her, she's like, as a matter of fact, I'm dating someone. And so when she's in like the lab one night, because she is like a workaholic, she's in the lab one night, she ends up seeing that her friend is coming down the hall, and she had lied to her saying that she was gonna go on like a date. And when she sees her coming, she turns around and she sees that there's a guy coming. She doesn't see who it is, but she says, I'm so sorry, like, can I please kiss you? And she gives them a peck until she hears her friend like walk away. And then she realizes that she just kissed Adam. He's their mentor basically. So when they come and they do their presentations, like he's made so many people cry, and people like curse his name basically, saying he's like this grumpy guy and he's so serious and he's so this and he's so that. And she realizes it's him and she's like, oh crap, like why did I do that? And he's kind of like shocked, like what's going on, like why did you kiss me? And so she explains to him what's going on, and she's really embarrassed because now she's like, oh my gosh, she's not going to respect me type of thing. But he actually ends up agreeing to help her, and he ends up agreeing to like be her fake boyfriend. And people are kind of looking at her like, what's wrong with you? Why are you dating this like super grumpy guy? Like all we do is talk bad about this guy and you are dating him? And she's over here like, oh no, he's really not that bad, even though she doesn't know because she doesn't even know him. But little by little, of course, they're fake dating, they're spending a lot of time together, and they eventually start to fall for each other. So it's really sweet. I really liked it. I enjoyed listening to it. It actually really made me laugh when I was listening to it. Like I was laughing out loud a lot. So I rated it, I think on Goodreads a 4-star, but yeah, like 4.5. It was really good. I liked it. Then I wanted something different because my coworker had this book and she was like, please read it, please read it. I want somebody to read it so I can talk to them about it. I was like, sure, I'll borrow it, I'll read it. So I read The Inmate by Frida McFadden. So this book has to do with Brooke, and at the very beginning you find out that Brooke starts working as like a nurse practitioner or as a nurse, and she's working at this prison because she's really not getting hired anywhere else. But she finds out that one of the inmates there is a guy that she put in there that happens to be her ex-boyfriend. And she put him in there due to some murders that he committed. Or did he commit them? And so as the story goes, and I don't want to go too much into detail because it's like a thriller and there is like a plot twist in this book, she starts to really question what it is that she saw that night, and if he really was the one that was guilty, or if now all these years he's been serving prison time for murders that he didn't commit. Not only that, but he doesn't know that he actually fathered a child with her. So she does have a 10-year-old son that he is the father of, and he had no idea. And so yeah, it was like a plot twist. And even the way that the book ended, I was like, oh my gosh, like uh-oh, like this is a problem. But anyway, it was pretty good. I rated it a 3.5 just because it's not romance, but still like a plot twist. I was like, oh my gosh. So I did tell my coworker like, hey, you got me, because I was totally off. Okay, now in November, the very first book that I picked up was a reread, and that was Fourth Wing. If you don't know what Fourth Wing is, let me go ahead and tell you really quick. So Fourth Wing has to do with dragons. Now in this book you have Violet Sorrengail, who has essentially trained to be a scribe her whole life. A scribe is pretty much a historian. That's what her dad was, that's what she is. Now her mom, sister, and brother, who unfortunately passed away, are all, and he was also a dragon rider. And so she's the only one who's been training to be a scribe, except a few weeks before she fully goes into the scribe quadrant and basically commits herself to becoming a scribe, her mom tells her, you know what, change of plans, no daughter of mine is gonna be a scribe, you are gonna be a dragon rider. And of course she's like, gee, thanks mom, because now I'm going against all these people that have trained their whole life to be dragon riders, and I basically know just the knowledge from being a scribe and have no like physical training or other training to go with what entails being a dragon rider. And so she tries to train as much as possible, but I mean, she's limited. She literally has like weeks before the program starts. And so this program is very much kind of Hunger Game-ish, because it is a war college, but you can basically be, you know, at any point during the training before you even present yourself to a dragon. And even then, when you present yourself to dragons, they might also deem you not worthy and, you know, send you away from there. And so she ends up going into this program, and a lot of people hate her because, one, her mom is the general, and her mom ordered the execution of like rebels that tried to essentially overthrow the government. And so she is already enemy number one with the children of the parents who were basically all executed. So all these rebels were executed in front of their children. And so all of them already don't like her because of her mom. People also don't like her because they see her as a potential weakness. She has a lot of like joint issues and bone issues, and she's constantly in a lot of pain. And it's very much like survival of the fittest type of mentality. And they're also thinking like, okay, we need just like the strong people, because if we're going to war, I need to trust the person that's gonna have my back. But even though there's like a lot of attempts on like people going after her, she, you know, keeps pushing through. Now, there is a man who basically hates her more than anyone else, and that man is Xaden. And Xaden hates her because her mom killed his father, which was the one who led the rebellion, but she hates him because his father is who killed her brother. And so they automatically don't like each other. She knows that she needs to be careful, because if there's anyone there that wants to get rid of her, it's Xaden. And so they do start to, you know, stay away from each other, and like she's trying to stay away from him, but he's trying to do everything in his power to be around her because he wants to keep an eye on her, and basically says like, if someone's gonna get rid of you, it's gonna be me. But of course, they start spending a lot of time together, essentially because Violet ends up, well, if you don't want any spoilers, just skip this part until I pick up the next book. But basically, she ends up getting the biggest, baddest, best dragon. And not only one dragon like picks her, two dragons end up picking her as their rider. And not only that, but now this dragon that picked her, he is like fated mates with Xaden's dragon Zigel. And so now Zigel and Tarn are, again, they're dragons and like they're like soulmates. And so anything that happens to one affects the other, which means Zigel being Xaden's dragon, now Xaden has to spend a lot of time with Violet and make sure that Violet is safe, because if something happens to her, something happens, like basically if she dies, he dies. So the book, oh my god, it was so good. Like there's so much action, there's so many things that you find out, and rereading it, like it just, I was listening to it and reading it at the same time, and I just loved it. 5 stars. Okay, but the reality of why I read this one was because the second book that, as we all know, also came out in November, and that was book number 2, Iron Flame. Now, I am not going to talk about what's in Iron Flame, because if people haven't read it, I really don't want to spoil it. I hate when people spoil things for me, so I'm not going to. But I will say, the first book, if you've read it, it ends on a cliffhanger, and this one immediately picks up on it. So it does pick up on it right away. Now, there were some things that I didn't like about it, only because it felt like too much. There was a lot of information, like a lot. And so I did find that at times I was like putting the book down, because I was like, whoa, like it was hard. And I was even like flipping back, like, wait, who is this person again? Because you're finding out a lot of history, you're finding out a lot of information about other like territories. There's a ton of new people that get introduced into this book, and I was having a hard time keeping track of all the names, to be honest. And I was like, I almost feel like I need to take notes, and I don't want to have to be taking notes when I'm reading. Like, unless I'm annotating the book like for fun, that's one thing, but like I don't want to full on have to take notes and like make like a little study guide of like, this is this person, like this is that. There was times that I thought it was a person and it wasn't even a person, like it was either a dragon or like it was something else. And I was like, I feel so dumb right now. Like I can't keep track. Like it was too much information. Okay. Now, one thing, and I will, like, if you haven't read it, okay, just skip this little part here. I saw that some people didn't like the fact that there's like a little bit of ex-girlfriend drama, because Kat is introduced in this book as like Xaden's like one of like his past lovers. But I actually really like the way that Rebecca did that, because Kat even says like, listen, I'm not mad at you because of the man. Like, it's not because of his love, it's not because of him, it's because of the crown. Now, do I agree with that? No. I think that you should be with someone because you love them and you want to be with them, and not because of what they have to offer, like a title. But I can applaud the fact that she's like, I'm not going to be petty and fight with you over a man. Like, this is about his title. So I actually was like, okay, like, I don't agree with that, but cool. Like, I like that it wasn't just like, no, Xaden was with me first type of thing. So I did like that. And I do think, my theory at least, is that eventually Kat and Violet, I feel like they're gonna become good friends. But yeah, overall, I mean, I rated it a 4-star. I do wish that Xaden and Violet would have spent more time together, because it definitely felt like, I think because in Fourth Wing they were constantly around each other and there was always so many things going on, and in this one Xaden was like away for a few days and then Violet was doing other things, so they weren't together all the time. And it's not that I felt like they always had to be together, but I was like, where's the like romance between them? Like, now there's so much history and all these people, but like, where are them two? So that was the only thing. But let me tell you, that like chair scene, I think about it often. Like, it lives rent-free in my mind. And if you know, you know. My chair, my woman. That's all I'm gonna say. Whew! That scene was good. It was a good scene. Anyway. Okay, now I'm almost done. I have 3 more books left. Next I have Deviant Hearts by Cole Jagger. Or Jagger Cole. Yes. Jagger Cole. I actually saw this on More to Mary's YouTube channel. She mentioned this author, and the moment that she said that it was a male author, I was intrigued, because I'm like, ooh, a male writing like mafia romance, like that sounds interesting. And one of the things that she really liked is that she felt like he was really bringing like a masculine perspective, like not masculine, maybe that's not the right word, but like he was bringing more mafia to it, if that makes sense. And so this is between Neve and Aries. So it is arranged marriage. You have like a really rich family, and the grandma always picks like who they're gonna marry. And so she ends up picking Neve to be the one to marry Aries. Now he is immediately attracted to her, and it's so funny because initially when the book starts, they live across the street from each other. He lives in like this new like penthouse. She has like a new like apartment as well, but now where his penthouse is, it like blocks her view. But he likes to walk around in like his, you know, birthday suit, and she will be like trying to study, and she'll look up and he's just walking around in his birthday suit, and the man looks good according to Neve. And so when they finally like, and she knows she's gonna marry him, but like she's like, oh my gosh, like he looks pretty good, you know. And so she's not necessarily opposed to marrying him, but they do meet, and he actually ends up confessing to her that like he knows that she watches him while he's walking around. So it was pretty funny, like it was hilarious. But I did like this book. Again, it was arranged marriage, it was mafia. There was like some like suspense, some like kidnapping, some like there's a lot of touch her and you die. So I did really like the book, and I just felt like it was like fresh, like it was different. I don't know. So I did like it. I rated it a 3.5 only because I don't know, like it was different, but like the romance, like I do feel like he kind of fell for her a little too quick. In mafia romances, for example, the man will be like, okay, this is my woman, like out of respect, don't like stare at her, don't this. But he was just very much like, this is my wife, and like my this and my that. And it's like right away where it's like, no, just like wait it out a little bit and then start to like really claim her, if that makes sense. So that's the only reason why I gave it a 3.5. But overall, I enjoyed it. It is book 1 in a series, so I do eventually plan on like little by little reading the rest of the books in the series. Next, I do have The Predator, and I'm not going to go too much into it because apparently book 2 talks more about it, which gives me some hope, but I don't know when I would read the second one. But it is between Tristan and Marana, so it is a mafia romance, and I don't want to go too much into detail again because there's like a past that they don't even know about. Like she doesn't even know that they're connected, but he does, and so he hates her, and she sees that he hates her. Like this is hate to love, like he hates her, but she doesn't know why. And so little by little, she starts to kind of like uncover certain things, but she also is really confused. Like, she's confused in that sense, but then there was like, I don't know, the way that I left off, I was like, I don't get it. But then when I was looking at reviews, because I'm like, wait, like people were saying, oh, it's because you have to read the second book because the second book explains the first book. But overall, I don't know. It was just like different, I guess. And then it was third person. So I found myself getting a little bit like disconnected from the book. I don't know. So I rated it a 3-star. Now, last but not least, I have Lessons in Corruption, which is From the Fallen Men by Gianna Darling. This was my first student-teacher romance, and let me tell you, it was good, okay? So in this book, you have King and Cressida. So it is an MC student-teacher romance. MC being motorcycle club. Now, Cressida is a teacher, and she's a teacher at like this really like fancy like high school, prep school, whatever you want to call it. And she is married, and she's been married to this guy, and you pretty quickly figure out that she was basically in a way not groomed, but she was like a child bride, because she crushed on this man who was like her father's friend when she was like 16, and as soon as she turned 18 she married him, and he was 36. They've been married for 8 years, and he's a lawyer, he's successful, whatever. And one day, like, she goes to the grocery store, she comes out of the grocery store, and across the parking lot, she sees this, like, really hot man leaning against a motorcycle, throwing back his head, laughing, talking to this other guy on a motorcycle. And she doesn't know why, but she just feels this, like, pull and attraction to him. And she's just standing there staring at him. And he eventually feels, I guess, like somebody's staring at him, and so he turns and he looks at her. He gets on his bike and leaves. That night, as she's laying in bed next to her husband, she realizes, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I with him? Like, I'm not in love with him, I'm not happy, I need to tell him. And so then the book jumps ahead a little bit, like a few months, where now she's moved to a different town, she's asked him for a divorce, and she's teaching at the school. Now, she goes out one night, and she's out at the bar with fellow teachers, and she ends up running into the guy that she saw at the grocery store, or at the grocery store parking lot, I should say. And so she's immediately like, whoa, this is like that guy. Like, he doesn't even know, but like, that's the guy that like literally changed my life, and he made me reflect on my life choices, and now, you know, like, this is where I'm at. And so he ends up telling her like, hey, come like take a ride with me in the motorcycle, whatever. And so she ends up going with him on a ride with the motorcycle. And so little by little, like, they start hanging out, they start going on dates, etc., etc. And then one day, you know, she's teaching, and she's had this new student that basically has been like skipping her class for like the past week or so. She's like, where is this student? Like, he hasn't come, you know, whatever. And one day when she's like starting her lesson, King walks in. And she's kind of like, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, this is my class, so like, I'm here for class. And she realizes that he's her high school student. Now, he is 18, so he is legal, okay? And I, to be honest, it was my first student-teacher romance. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this, like, whatever. I loved it. Like, it was so good. I think Gianna Darling, like, just the way that she wrote it, like, it wasn't weird. King was very, very mature, okay, for like his age. And he also told her like, listen, like, when I know that I want something, like, that's what I want. And like, when I saw you, you were it for me, and like, that's it, like, you're it. And so she's kind of fighting it because she's like, it's not right, like, morally, because I am your teacher. Also, like, you're 18, I'm 26, like, you haven't even really like lived, like, you need to go mess around with girls your age. And so it's kind of like a back and forth type of thing, because she also, like, in a way doesn't want him to be with someone else, but like, she does want to be with him. And so I don't know, it's just cool. And like, seeing the whole like motorcycle club thing, it was something new to me, so I really enjoyed it. Again, it is the first book in a series. I did see that the rest of the books are all age gap, so I don't know, it should be interesting, but I definitely want to read them. I don't know, I'll probably read the second book in December. Anyway, I am in the middle of 2 other books. I'm actually in the middle of Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren and Unveil by Elodie Hart. Really enjoying both of them. But I will go over those two in my December wrap up. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I know this video is a little bit long. I'm gonna try to cut it as much as I can, but if you stuck around, thank you so much. Let me know if you've read any of these books, if you're gonna give any of these books a try, and what you're planning on reading in December, because if you have any recommendations for me, please let me know. I love just getting recommendations and adding them to like my TBR so that I pick them up when I'm looking for something new to read. So thanks so much again for watching this video. I hope you'll stick around, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.